your camera's not on.
Well, that's the problem. I don't know. For some reason the camera's not, but it shows that it's on.
Okay, the meeting is now live streamed on YouTube. Okay, are you aware of that?
Oh, what is that?
We're now being live streamed on YouTube.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, she says that's fine.
That's good. Okay.
Okay, all right.
All right.
So today is the 4th of July. Happy Freedom Day.
Yeah, it's the 4th of July. I'm going to a 4th of July party this afternoon at Boca West. I think you're familiar with that community, the Boca West community.
Yes.
So it's really nice over there, really.
Yes. A friend of Laura's is moving down there, I think, on the 17th of the month. So Laura will probably be visiting more often. Maybe I will too. Who knows? You never know. You never know what anything is for.
Sure.
Yeah. So
That's you, because
yeah.
we were talking not that long ago about the 181 to 189 series of the lessons, and today's lesson 185, and I went through all the lessons. I went through 181 to 189, and it really showed me that, as you said, if you get any one of those lessons, if you truly get it, you don't need the entire course. And that was very interesting to me, because the titles of the lessons themselves and the content is so powerful. And today's lesson, I want the peace of God. So to say these, if you just got the first paragraph, looking at it, you get the entire Course in Miracles. To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. So that one paragraph alone, if we were able to embody it and really feel the connection that it's made to connection that we're with God, that these words can bring us to, then we would never really need anything else. I want the peace of God. And I always say, well, I've really come a long way. I have the peace of God. I certainly feel more peaceful than I ever did. And I had to laugh a little bit. That I had gone on vacation, and we went to Jamaica, and I decided to try zip lining. And, I'm not afraid. But what was coming to my mind? I'm putting my life on the line with somebody who's, connecting me to this cable. And what if, the cable doesn't work? What if he doesn't, it's not, here's the trust that I'm finding that I'm declining with. And one of these lessons tells us that it's really trust that we need to instill more than anything. And here I am not trusting. So in little ways, the ego does find its way in and does create a little bit of a doubt, and then, but the lessons tell us not to have any doubt whatsoever. And that's what we really need to work on, because we really think we have it. We really think that we jumped ahead. Well, we probably have. I know from when I started some 30 years ago with the Course in Miracles, certainly it's made a tremendous impact on me, and I've followed its path as best as I could. But here I am, feeling this little bit of fear that is a matter of really trusting. And once I was able to do it, once I was able to zip line, of course, the joy of it, the thrill of it took over. But it was that bit of fear that a mistake can be made. And if I ever fell, I prayed that would be the end. So the ego kind of shoves its way in whenever it can, and that was a perfect example. There was a family there who had, they were enjoying the day. It was Father's Day, and they had 4 kids. The youngest was 5 years old, and this little boy was crying. You know, he didn't want to do it, and they sort of just, you know, he was kind of forced to do it. And here I was judging the family for making this kid do something, you know, against his will. But the kids at the end too seemed to enjoy it. You know, we kind of met on the other side, and there was smiles and whatnot. So it's really not incumbent on us to judge anything, really, and we have to catch ourselves. And that's what it's a matter of, just catching ourselves when we start to get into the ego's thought system, which is, here we are with fear, and that can really that's the end of it. You know, the ego has its way when we're feeling the fear of anything. Today, July 4th, I was looking at Hugh Prather. Actually, he has his camera and this calendar. And I'm thinking, my camera's not working here with Zoom, so here it is. The camera is still on my mind. Anyway, I meant to say calendar. I think this thing is falling apart. I've had it for so many years, and every now and then I check today, July 4th, and I picked it up. And it says, stillness is the beginning step in the stillness is the beginning step in freeing the mind of useless battles. Well, here I just mentioned one, useless battle, right? Stillness is often associated with physical quietness, restricted activity, but the actual effort required to carry our inner calmness into each small task, errand, and event. In this way, we truly celebrate freedom. So it's saying that really needs to be, it's not just a matter of quieting the mind when we see that we have the opportunity to do that. Here I am, maybe meditating, quieting the mind. I'm at home, not having any plans for the day and just doing my daily work, whatever. It's easy to instill quietness in that respect. But when we carry it into everything, carry the calmness into each small task, errand, or event, then we can then feel free. And today, this morning was a perfect event, a perfect example too, where, you know, I couldn't get my Zoom to work, my Zoom camera to work. And here I was fiddling around with it, and I was panicking, and then once you know, it really doesn't do any, and it doesn't help when we were kind of in that frame of mind. And that maybe was meant to happen, because I soon, right now, completely level-headed and completely back to the norm of being calm. So perhaps that particular situation was meant to be, because there's really nothing that need interfere with our peace and calm and so forth. And the perfect lesson, I want the peace of God. We want it. I want the peace of God, but we don't really go after it in terms of, yes, we know what the peace of the world may be, but that has nothing to do with the peace of God, which is completely different from the world's thinking. The peace of God is true peace, true happiness, true understanding. The peace of God right now, I'm feeling it because God is right there, right next to me, handling any situation that need be taken care of. And here we are setting examples right now, this very morning here. So, you know, the Course in Miracles says that no one can mean these words and not be healed. We have to mean those words. And, you know, if not, we're really dreaming. We're still in the illusion. and we haven't really woken up from it until we see that that's where it's at. Peace of God is right here for the taking, and it's a matter of understanding, knowing. It's a knowing that God is there, and there's nothing to fear, and the peace of God. We want that, right?
Yes. So I want to say, Myrna, that you nailed it. Bingo. Right on the button. Ken Wapnick, who I always use his commentary on every lesson. This is what Ken says. He says, these ideas cannot be understood from the world's perspective, which exactly as you were saying, but we like to bring the peace with us wherever we go. So that's a nice thought, but that's not what the Course is talking about when he talks about, I want the peace of God. So Ken goes on to say, for they can be known only through the mind's, not the brain's, experience. In the holy instant, when your mind is outside the dream of time and space, the peace and love that you feel tell you that these words are true. So where do you find this? Certainly not in your senses, like your five senses. Oh, well, it was so noisy here, and now I have peace. No. That's how the ego's brain looks at things. I get a little peace right now, because before it was messy turmoil and a lot of anxiety, and now I'm peaceful. But that happens in time, when you go from anxiety and stress to a little bit more calm and peace, and then the anxiety and stress comes back because the ego is still in charge. The ego is running the mind between your ears. So as Ken Wapnick says, the peace of God that is spoken about in lesson 185 has nothing to do with the kind of peace and calm you have when the noise stops and everything is quiet. No, the peace and calm of A Course in Miracles, peace of God, is really your immune system, where you're immune from the dream, where no matter what happens, you are the peace of God. You are the Son of God. You are the Christ. You are the Holy One. You are innocent, and none of the things of guilt or punishment or defend, attack. None of that comes up for you, because I and the Father are one, exactly as you say. My Father walks with me wherever I am. Yeah, love is the way I walk in gratitude. So thank you for nailing it and being right on with this lesson. Actually, it's lessons 181 to 200. Any one of those 20 lessons, 181 to 200, is the entire course. So he says, if you can master any one of these lessons, it is the entire course. And then today's lesson, 185, all I want is the peace of God, is one of those 20 lessons, exactly as you say. Lynn put the words up in the room. It says, to say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to your full awareness, a memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. I mean, that kind of reminds me of lesson 182. Let me be still an instant and go home. It's like the identical lesson of 182. 182 and 185 is both saying the same thing, as they all say. Like yesterday's lesson, the name of God is my inheritance. Like I am not this thing I thought I was. I am as God created me. God has no name. I have no name. You can't name everything. God created all. I am all. I am all, and I am joined with all. I'm going to put up something. I think I put that up in the room a little bit earlier already, but I'm going to put it up here in the. I'm going to try and put it up here if I can, if I can find my way out of Let's see, how do I do this? Exit full screen. Okay. So I'm gonna put this up in the chat, and I already put it up in the room, but I'll do it again in the room so that even people in the room, if they are listening, they can actually follow along. And it's something I just read online just a little while ago, and we can talk a little bit more about it. And why isn't it going up right now? Okay. I'll put it in the room in a second. And this is what it says. It's a short commentary by Ken Wapnick. He says, this course will never help you if you think that you're sane. Never. So if you think that you already know everything about everything, and you know who the crazy people are, and you know that you're not crazy, that you're sane, this course is not for you, literally, because this course can't help you, because you don't think that there's anything is going on with you. You think that you're perfect, and the people around you are not perfect. I'll put it up in the room now, I think, so we can read it together. Okay. Lynn just put it up. Okay. It says, this is a course for the emotionally disturbed, in case you didn't know that. So yeah, you don't pick up the course because you think that everything is in your life is working perfectly. You pick up the course because you think that something seems to be missing, and I like to find it. Going on, Ken says, as any therapist knows, you can't help a patient who doesn't think that he or she is sick. Interesting. You can't help a patient who doesn't think that he or she is sick. Someone who comes to you because the court said you have to go get help, or the school said you have to go, or your spouse says, I won't stay married to you unless you get help. These are the worst patients you could possibly ever have, because they don't think that they have a problem. They think, let me just complete it. They think that someone else has the problem. My teacher is crazy. My husband is crazy. My wife is crazy, but I'm okay. But I'm just here to hear what you as a therapist has to say. And I hope you agree with me. Kind of reminds me, there's two kind of therapists in this world, which I found very early in life. I was married the first time for 10 years. And at the end of the 10 years, and I wasn't a good husband, so I'm not saying I was, my wife decided to go into therapy, and I guess she got some kind of a recommendation from somebody, I don't know who, and to go into therapy. And this therapist saw that she was okay, and my husband was to blame. Her husband was to blame. Me was to blame for everything. And all of his patients went through the same therapist, that were him, of course, and they all had a dinner that they shared with their exes. I was invited, and everybody at the dinner had the same therapist, and the therapist definitely saw that the exes were to blame and that they were okay. So as you know from the psychotherapy pamphlet, in the pamphlet, no one is to blame at all, and the only thing that's required for healing is joining without judgment. So you can see that in the world there are therapists that will definitely judge the person that you couldn't stand and say, yeah, they are to blame for all your problems. So what Ken Wapnick is talking about here is really exactly what goes on in the world. He says the worst patients you could possibly ever have, because they don't think that they have a problem. They think someone else has the problem. So then if the person stays with you, your job is to convince them that they need help. You have to convince the person that they are the ones that need the help. That's what Jesus has to do. He has to convince us that we're emotionally disturbed. Only then will we be motivated to choose the voice of sanity, the voice of Holy Spirit, the voice of God, the voice of love, the voice of peace? And that comes from Ken Wapnick in his book, The Journey Through Form to Formlessness on Transformation. And with that, I'll turn the mic back over to you.
Yeah, what you said was so right on. I love the way you detected that because it's so true. You know, what came to mind was when I was a little girl, my mother had called somebody, a therapist. She thought maybe that I needed to see someone. And the therapist right on the phone said, I don't think it's your daughter. I think it's you. And that's all my mother had to hear. She hung up, and that was the end of the therapist, you know. So this is so true, what you had just said, because unless we really see ourselves and wanting the help. And unfortunately, we just have to become emotionally disturbed and enough to finally see it. If we are emotionally disturbed enough, and I think many of the Course in Miracles students who turn to the Course in Miracles are so emotionally disturbed, and me included, because when I got to Course in Miracles, I certainly needed that type of help. And I believe that it was given to me. The Course in Miracles is given to those who are ready to accept it. I really believe that. And in my case, it was the perfect vehicle for me to get back on the right path and to just find my way. And it's true. We have to realize that that, you know, like you say, if we think we're perfect, and we go through life and blaming everybody else, and that's what we tend to do. When we're not at peace, we go ahead and we blame everybody else, and that just leaves us, you know, hanging, you know, by ourselves, not having healed because we think we don't need the healing. But healing comes when we're starting to feel true peace, and that should really indicate that true peace is can be found. We just have to follow the steps in which to find it. And people like Ken Wapnick or Hugh Prather or John Mundy or Alan Cohen, all these people, and you, certainly Duff, Fishman, and Lynn, I love listening to Lynn as well. Both of you are all part of this whole circle in order to work at healing and speaking about this openly and discussing the recognition that we need help. You know, you mentioned 2 lessons in that part, that series 181 to 189 or 200. 182, you mentioned, I will be still an instant and go home. And the Course tells us that the world is not home to us, is it? That's why we're disturbed, because we're in a place that really we don't belong. And on some deep level, we know that. But we do have a memory of home. And once we get that memory of home, true home, the home of heaven, the home of heaven seems like a word, a symbol, but heaven is more than that. Heaven is the peace of God. And once we have that memory, we realize that we're alien here. And as the Course uses that term, we're alien. And then we search, but what do? We search in darkness. And until you see the light, until you recognize that you're still in the darkness and you're groping around, protecting yourself and blaming everybody else for your difficulties, then nothing changes. And, you know, the homes that we make our homes, but they're not home. You know, we think they're safe places, and but they're not really. What we make is not safe because the ego doesn't recognize what safety, true safety really is. And the only safety that we'll really find is God, through God. And, you know, the Course also says that in this lesson that there's no substitute for heaven. You can't substitute heaven. That's the peace of God, the love of God, the truth of who we are, the place that we emanate from, the heavenly body that we are made out of. And, there's another one of those lessons too that tells us, where is it, about God giving us that God, the peace of God is shining in me now is one of them. That's lesson 188, looking through the course. But there's one particular lesson where God says that you are me. In other words, I give you all power. You are me. I am you. I am in you. I give you you're no less than I am. One of those lessons, I'm trying to find it, says that.
Well,
those words.
Well, the one that comes to mind is probably not the same one that you're thinking of, but lesson 200 says there is no peace but the peace of God. So it says, well, you can look for peace all you want in this world. You're not going to find it. But if you look within, you're going to find it. But it's not, if you look outside, you're not going to find it.
Right. Exactly. We're not going to find it.
Yeah.
You don't find anything outside. We don't find anything in the world.
Yeah.
But I think it's the whole world is a compilation of nonsense of stuff.
Are you thinking of 184? The name of God is my inheritance.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was yesterday's lesson. The name of God is my inheritance. That's right. That's probably true, Lynn. That's yes.
What lesson is that?
It's 184.
184. Let me find
which we did yesterday.
Yeah, the name of God is my inheritance. I like that. The name of God is. Oh yes, that is really very succinct, because names. What are names? Names are symbols, right? We call it other names. But the course does indicate that the names that we find, that we use, are all symbols, and it's all an illusion. The only thing that's true is the name of God, and that is our name as well. And God really has no name, so that brings me to vision. If God has no name and I am one with God, that's all I need be. And all truth lies in that.
Yeah. Well, what were you talking about? The eternal changelessness. That's the nature of God. Eternal, which means there's no time or space. Changelessness means it's constant. It doesn't vary depending on a situation. So it's always is. That's the peace of God. It's an isness. He tells you in the course, God is, and then you cease to speak. And truth is, peace is, love is. These are isnesses. You can't put a symbol or a name or a form on something that is content. So the content is the content of love. God being love is also happiness. Happiness, love, peace. They are changeless, eternal content, and you can't ever mix up the forms of this world with the content. In the time I have left, I want to go back to what it is that we were sharing a little bit earlier on different types of therapists in this world. Like some will say, "Oh, your ex, he was to blame, and you are pure and innocent." Now, I came across just yesterday something from the teacher's manual. I put it in the chat here. I also put it in the room from section 24 of the manual. And this is what it says. All beliefs that lead to progress should be honored. That's the sole criterion this course requires. No more than this is necessary. Now, it's really saying that the therapist who says, yeah, your husband was to blame, he was guilty, he should never have done what he did, or you would be happy. But, it may not fall in line to what the course is teaching. Obviously, course doesn't teach anything about blame, shame, or guilt. But on the other hand, that that therapist is using his therapy to help build this person, my ex-wife, my former wife, Carol, back up so that she realizes that she did nothing wrong. And in that she is strengthened. And I did see that after a couple of years of therapy with this doctor who does see others as to blame, but the people that are his patients, he's building them back up so that they can go on out. Of course, the downside of that is they're going to go into another relationship and repeat the same thing, always saying the other person is guilty. In this particular case, it's almost laughable in a way. She figured that she didn't want to marry someone like me, so she found her first cousin who kind of knew everything about her background and all that, and knew about her financial condition and all that. She didn't want to meet someone who was like me, so she married her first cousin. Of course, after and they moved back. They moved out to California, lived in a really great dwelling on top of the cliffs overlooking the Pacific. I can't think of the name of the town. It's just north of La Jolla. And in about 3, 4, 5 years of being out there, all of a sudden something happened. She found that he was having relationships with his own daughter. So she immediately left him, came back to New York. But as we said, the same thing happened over again. She met somebody who was guilty, very guilty, and how could you be? So as it happens, she now living a life of on her own basically, and that's fine. Everyone learns something in this world. What you want to learn is up to you, and that's why the course is really about. Listen, I have some problems, things that hurt me, bother me. How can I handle it? And as I say, when you have a problem or someone's pushing your button or somebody's triggering you, be happy, be grateful, because that's how you begin to see your own mistaken beliefs. And of course, the most mistaken belief is I am separate and apart, and someone out there is doing something to me. Poor me. I'm a victim. And of course, lesson 31 and 32 says, no, I am not a victim of this world. I'm making it all up. It's a dream I'm telling myself, but I think it's real, and I want to be right. And then he says, do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. So with that, with 2 minutes left, I'll turn the mic back over to you.
Well, you put a post down. You put a post on Facebook, and it says every behavior is love or a call for love. Anything else is your own interpretation. Mm-hmm. I like that. You put that up. So how do you interpret that? I'd like to hear it in your words.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely, in my first marriage, I was definitely a call for love. Now, that's only at the level when you're doing the course for some years. And, that was quoted by Marianne Williamson in her book, Return to Love. Everyone is either extending love or asking for love. So a person who is acting out their own fears and their own anger and their own upsets, they're actually calling for love. So everyone here basically is a child of God who's either extending the love, or out of their own fear, they're calling for love. They're saying, I'm all alone. I need help. Please, is there anyone out there who understands me?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's any behavior is, yes. Well, the Course in Miracles says that it's a call for love, and we interpret it differently. Like your wife, she didn't see it as a call for love. Her behavior, she saw it as her own interpretation was that you were guilty and she was guiltless, and she had to find out for herself. And sometimes, unless you address the truth of what it is or unless you address your behavior, then you're just going to fall into the same pattern over and over again. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. And here she's looking for somebody perhaps she thought could make her happy. She wanted to be happier. And so she left and found that she really, she certainly wasn't a good judge of character, that's for sure. You should have seen that right from the onset.
Well,
but
maybe she was a good. I mean, she met me. No, I'm only kidding. Okay.
well, she did. She was a fool, let me tell you. Because
No, it is true. Yeah. I met her when I was 20 years old. We had a child when I was 21. We stayed married until I was 30, but my spiritual awakening didn't happen until I was 32. So I always say the first 32 years of my life was pure ego. It was. I'm saying it. Ego got everything that it wanted.
Yeah, you were luckier than me because it took me a lot longer. But I started when I was in my 50s, early 50s, searching and knowing that I needed to turn the other way or do something because I was not going in the right direction. And I too was divorced, and I wanted a divorce, and for probably the same reason, the same nonsense. He's not for me. I'm not happy. I need to find another partner. But the truth is, looking back then, if I was then the same as I am now, I could have made it work with him because he was a loving person. He was a good person. He was a loving father. I mean, he was a little too, too placid. That's the word. There was very little emotion that he could show, and that was something that I kind of latched onto. But whatever the reason, there is no reason. The reason is I was in a different place, as she was,
Yeah. I just want to say we have a little extra time here. Lynn put up on the board from today's lesson, and from paragraph 7 is very worthwhile speaking about. Let us today devote our practicing to recognize that we really do mean these words we say. We really want the peace of God. This is no idle wish. These words do not request that we be given another dream. Oh yeah, something, a better dream, a happier dream. No, it says we do not ask for compromise, nor try to make another bargain in that hope that there may be yet one that can succeed, like one more road. But he tells you all roads in this world lead to death. So the idea of, I'll meet somebody new, I'll get a different business, I'll start doing something different than I was doing in the past. All of those are just, what you really do want is this peace of God, to remember the truth of who you are. Anything else is what the world tells you that you're. Oh yes, now I'm a teacher. Oh yes, now I'm a priest. Oh yes, now I'm living in a convent. But none of those really mean anything because you're taking things from the dream, which is really a classroom, and you're making it real. What you want to do is waken from the dream and recognize that you're doing this to yourself.
Yes. That's what when it says, I want the peace of God, but unfortunately, we don't know what the peace of God is. We think it's the ego's peace, and I want the peace of God. I'm gonna go ahead and become peaceful, but we look in all the wrong places. But we don't know what the peace of God is, and if we really want, like you just said, you just mentioned what the peace of God truly is. And if we knew that right away, we wouldn't go through all this maze of life that would all different turns and coming up shorthanded every single time, not finding our way. That's really, until we really mean those words, and that means to a lot of people, it means sacrifice. Peace of God means sacrifice. That would mean that I have to give up my anger towards somebody that I've been angry with all my life. I can't do that. Or I have to, whatever it is, give up a job that I hate but I feel secure in. But but I want peace. And if I leave this job, then maybe I won't find another and I won't have peace. I mean, it's all we twist and turn the true meaning of what the peace of God is. The peace of God is nothing more than the truth of who we are and to, then you start to recognize that the ego is not our friend, and recognize when we're being attacked or when we're attacking, that this is not the peace of God, but to give up attack, that takes a long time. It took me a long time to give up attack. And now I don't attack at all because it doesn't get me anywhere. But it took me a very long time to get there and learn that. So, yeah.
But you also have to have the intention. You have to have the intention to say, is there another way? Is there a better way of looking at all of this? Because if you stay in the old way of looking, you say, well, I'll change partners, I'll change this, I'll change that. No, changing anything in this world will give you the same outcome. Because as he says, all roads lead to the same place, a dead end.
Yes, it's a dead end.
Yeah, there's nothing here that will give you anything other than the ego's idea that you're guilty, you're a sinner, and guilt has to be punished, and the wages of sin and guilt is death and goodbye. So you identify with being a body, but we are not a body. We are spirit, or basically, as Gary Zukov, which Lynn was playing in the room the last during the last week. She's played a number of times, of course. But I saw something in my own childhood that I just became aware of. Maybe have a little time to talk about it. Actually, I could play it, believe it or not. I actually have the thing. And he's on the Oprah show. Way after Oprah found Gary Zukov, about, I don't know, 17, 18 years. She actually said that Gary changed her life, even her show. And she realized that the intention is everything, and she has an intention for every program, and says that's why she actually became popular, you might say, is because she actually took a look at the idea that you set the intention. Whatever your intention is the way it's going to come out. Gary Zukov had given that to her in his first book, but I can't find the thing this very second. But what I'm going to mention is that he talked about the way the ego sees things. He doesn't use the word ego, he uses the word personality. And he talks about the soul, which is his way of using the word spirit. So he says, the way the personality looks at something, he says, like if you're a child and you have a sibling that's born and lives only 4 days and then dies, the mother is so filled with sorrow and guilt that her son had died in only 4 days, that she always talks about the son like, oh, if only he was here, he would also graduate, he would also be married, he would always. So somehow, if you go through that, if you go through that, if you're a sibling of that, you kind of have to realize that anything that you do that allows you to be more of yourself is going to hurt your mother. So in some way, you kind of dummy yourself down so that you're more mediocre, and you can't be all that you can be, because you don't want to hurt your mother's feelings, who thinks that her poor child who died almost in childbirth, like in 4 days, he's not here to be happy, so she's not happy. How can I be happy? And that actually happened to me. I shared that with Lynn, and I actually shared it in our 3 o'clock meeting, the 3 o'clock meeting on Mondays that I do with Zulma and Karen. And it's really a thing that's a trauma for some of us, but we don't even know we're going through that trauma until here I lived 83 years. And that actually happened in my life when I was 4 years old and 5 years old. And I didn't realize that until I heard Gary Zukav talking about it. And after he was finished, it was like he only spoke about it for like 5 minutes. Oprah says, "That's the most powerful thing I ever heard you say." You know, that we can be less than ourselves because we're trying to trying to help somebody else. So Gary is saying, and trying to help his mother from her loss of her child, he had to be less than who he was so that he could be, you know, he was mediocre. And I'll turn the mic over to you if you want to comment on it.
Yeah, well, that's a lesson he needed to learn. I mean, that's a tough nut to crack, because you go through your life thinking that you have to behave a certain way to please somebody else. You see their pain, but you're not really addressing your own pain, that's what it's really causing. But I think when we finally recognize, like you said, you've had this similar situation. I know you lost a brother, and your mother was inconsolable, and it was hard on you. I mean, I lost a father when I was 3 years old, and I had to deal with that at a very young age. But you know, maybe these are things that will help shift us from that low reality, the ego's reality, to the truth, really. And maybe that's what it sometimes takes. I really find that the Course in Miracles students that I hear, whether it be on our, on these Zoom sessions that we have in the evening, or just in talking, everybody has had trauma. And look how we're so blessed. I would, if it means that this changed my reality, truth, I would go through it all over again, ending up where I am, rather than having to live a life not understanding what the illusions are. And I think that the pain leads us to love the pain by getting out of the pain, realizing that there's nothing but love. And once we see that, it becomes a completely different. We become completely different people. I mean, I am not the person that I was. I was completely, in a state of trance, I suppose, the ego's trance. And here I am today, able to discuss this and understanding that it's all a journey.
Yeah. I want you to know, I found the thing. We could play it again. It's only about 5-6 minutes, but I have lightened up a lot since this came to me. This only came to me 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and I have looked at that, and exactly as you say, Myrna, it's a lesson that I came to learn. Obviously, it's a lesson that Gary Zukav came to learn, except he learned it at a much earlier age. I waited till I was 83 to learn that lesson about my childhood. It also explains some of the things that I was addicted to. I wanted to satisfy people. You can satisfy people many different ways. You might say I was a people pleaser. You might say I was a sexaholic. So all those things are basically things that you do to kind of satisfy the person who really wasn't happy with you. So I'm going to play it now, if it's okay. And
Sure.
I think it starts with Oprah, and then she turns on Gary's voice.
That is fine. If you don't know that, if you don't have that grounding, there's no way back to them. But it's
Dove, we can't hear that.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
And you don't know that this is a part of your personality, and that you can shift your attention to a part that's grateful or appreciative or in awe of the universe or sacred. Then you're trapped in that little mini column, and it's really and when you imagine that experience is presented to you in the earth field for reason is for you to experience it fully, not to deny an emotion, or not to resist it, but to feel it. And while you're feeling it, choose the healthiest part of your personality that you can to respond to. Choose love.
So out of the 36 shows that we taped with Gary, the one that stands out for many people and that continues to resonate with is about how to get your power back. You did a show on how to get your power back. And I heard that it's the show that you also get asked about the most. We met a couple, Jody and Ira were their names, who had recently lost one of their twin sons. Twins born, and just 4 days after he was born, baby Ryan died. Understandably, this couple was trapped in their own grief and couldn't see a way out or a life beyond what they had endured. Anybody who's ever lost a child or close family member knows, particularly if it's a child. They were suffering and also feeling this overwhelming loss of control, is what he had said to us earlier in the stuff. He died, as I said, after being only 4 days old. So I wanted to just watch this conversation. This was an eye-opening conversation for many people about the soul. Take a look.
This is a matter of perspective. The perspective of the personality or the perspective of the soul. From the perspective of the soul, interactions between personalities are meaningful. And every soul comes into the Earth School when it chooses, and every personality or soul leaves the Earth School when it chooses. If you look at Ryan as a personality who lived for a few days and then encountered tragic circumstances and died, then you are looking from the point of view of a personality. If you look at Ryan as a soul, like yourself, like Ira, like Oprah, like me, like everyone on this earth that left this earth when it chose, then you will have a different perspective. You will be able to see the gifts that this soul offered to you during its short stay on the earth. You will reach a place in your life where you are grateful that this soul chose to be with you for however short a time. If you do not, you will live your life in anguish, thinking that a tragedy has occurred. Whenever you see your other son growing up, you will say, Ryan should be here. When he graduates from high school, you say, Ryan should have graduated. When he finds his wife, you will say, Ryan should be getting married too. And through all of this time, you will be imposing on your other son a burden to carry, because no matter what he does or how successful he is, he will be causing mommy pain. If you look at Ryan as a soul, a great soul like yourself, who voluntarily entered the Earth School and voluntarily left it in order to be with you and to offer gifts, then you will begin the process of fathoming and appreciating and becoming grateful for the power of the interaction that you had with that soul. And you will be able to receive the gift that that soul came to this earth to give you, to give Ira, to give to his siblings. And if you do not, you will continually be turning away from those gifts. You will be denying the very wealth of wisdom and compassion that was offered to you by this soul.
That may be the most powerful thing I ever heard you say.
Wow.
That's pretty powerful.
Well, that was so powerful. I feel really, because it's true. And then, you know, that
That was beautiful, Dove. Thank you for playing that.
soul, 4 days chose to be with you, and it chose to leave for whatever reason. It had its reason. And if we look at it that way, then there is no grief.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it was obviously a lesson I needed to hear and learn and hear.
Yes.
And yes, my brother who was killed in action when he was 19, I was 5 years old, but he loved me so much, before he left to go into the army and serve. Uh, he used to roll me in the carriage wherever he went, always saying, this is my younger brother. And I never really experienced that until now. In a way, I always thought of Jesus as my older brother, and Erwin is my older brother. They were both my older brother, but it's the same love as the love of Jesus. So thanks.
Look what you learned from that. That is great. It was meant for you to hear that. And every now and then that happens with me too. I learned something that way. I mean, that you were meant to really, he was meant to speak to you, and that could really make a difference in the life of a lot of people. I think that should be heard again, because he spoke from the heart. Who was he? What's his name?
Gary Zukov.
Gary Zukov, yes. And he really is right on. But isn't it wonderful that he learned that's what it took for him to come to that recognition, all the agony and so forth, and to see that it was really meant to be. Everything is meant to be. Everything is meant to be the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
You know that.
exactly. Everything happens perfectly. I'm so glad that I was here to hear it. And the funny thing is, I heard that Gary Zukov thing. Lynn has been playing it a number of times in the last year or two. I don't know. And for some reason, it's the first time I heard it just 2 days ago. I never heard it before. Obviously, the ego didn't want me to hear it until I heard it.
Well, maybe now you're ready to accept it.
Yes.
This is the time you were ready to really accept it. That you might, if you heard it early, you may not have made the connection as you do now. This is the time.
Yeah.
Everything happens in the exact moment it's supposed to.
Yep.
I mean, believe it or not, I talked about this before, and I'll just run it by you again. But I think the greatest miracle that in recent times that I've ever experienced was the fact that my dog survived, that nobody could figure out how,
Yes,
the canal and finding, I mean, I don't even want to go through it, but that was meant to happen. It was definitely meant to, because it taught me that, just leave it in God's hands. Anything. God can do anything.
Yes.
We just have to trust that whatever is being done is will happen in due time, according to the way it's supposed to be done for us. And God will do it. But if we ask for something that is not in our own best interests, then it's not going to happen. That's all there is to it. And we don't understand it. We think that we're being shunned, pushed away, but we're not really at all. And that taught me something that I'll never forget. I will always, always have that complete trust, no matter what.
That's so true. Thank you, Myrna, for sharing that again. And yes, divine guidance, divine intervention. It's always there as a lesson that we need to learn. As saying, trust. Lesson 47, God is the strength in which I trust. I'm trusting in true strength, not something in this world. So I think with that, we're at almost a whole hour here. I'm going to say thank you so much, Myrna, for being on. Thank you, Lynn, for giving us the extra time. Thank anyone who's listening to.
I know, it's funny. What is my ego telling me? Oh, God, I'm sorry I screwed this up for you. That's what my ego.
No.
I hope you were able, my voice was able to come through, and I certainly have looked at it.
It all happens perfectly. Trust me. Okay. Same.
I was just gonna say, this is so beautiful. And today's lesson of this, I was gonna read from paragraph 6. The mind, which means that all it wants is peace, must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given in a form each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it if his asking is sincere. That's from today's lesson, and I think that is a great example what you gave, Dove, of just exactly how these lessons come. And you too, Myrna, everything, your dog, everything. You know, we joined together to reaffirm that this is the plan, and we're here together to share our salvation. So thank you, Myrna. Thank you, Dove.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Devin. I will see you tonight.
See you all tonight. Yay.
Okay,
Thanks.
yes, we're on at 7 o'clock on ACIM Gather Zoom. Okay, love you all. Thank you.
If you want to play that again, hopefully that really, that's going to touch every heart of that recording.
Okay,
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. Because we're going to be talking about empathy tonight and
all
true
right.
empathy. So yeah, that is a great idea.
Who,
All right, you guys.
who's talking on empathy? You?
Yeah, we're going through the section True Empathy.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
so many
okay.
people are so into being an empath. And I just let's talk about what Jesus has to say about what real empathy is, and how like in any situation, like the death of a child or whatever, there's a way to be empathic with people without having your heart breaking for them, because you see that, just as that recording said, everything happens for the best. These are the lessons we choose to learn together, and the means for giving us the lessons are always here. So I think it's beautiful. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Myrna. Thank you, Dove. And thank you everyone who met with us here in the chat room. I appreciate all of you, and we will see you all tonight.
Love you. Love you.